Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin. I adore you. I absolutely adore you, warts and all. Not because you are a groundbreaking piece de resistance, a brilliant piece of writing, cinematography, thought-provoking dialogue. I love you because you are so batshit crazy, bombastic, wacky,
louder, come on, sing,
and goofy. Batman and Robin, when it first came out in 1997, I was 10 years old. Actually 9. No, I was 9. Let's go with 9. And I thought it couldn't get any better than this when it came to a Batman film. Obviously, back in 1995, 2 years beforehand, we had Batman Forever, and that kind of balanced the campiness and the gothic tones pretty well. But you can tell that there was something starting to happen and that the film was going into territory that it hadn't gone before within the Batman universe. And then when Batman and Robin came along, it just blew all that shit out of the water. And the film essentially just self-destructed. But I still love it to this very day. And one of the reasons, and I will fight people on it, are the beautiful costumes. Not just the Batsuit, the Robin suit, the Batgirl suit, but also Poison Ivy's costume, as well as the beautifully handcrafted Mr. Freeze armor. Now, given the fact we have bat asses and bat nips, all that aside, these are beautiful pieces of costuming technology. Trust me, I used to own one, and I will get to that. So with that being said, guys, sit back, relax. Let's all tweak our bat nips as we check out the screen used costumes and props from Batman and Robin, and where are they now today? Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. And yes, today we're going to be looking at the screen used props, but mostly costumes from Batman and Robin. Everything's pretty much out of order when it comes to this series. It's more or less when something sparks in my head and I just want to talk about a certain movie or subject, I'll do it. So obviously I've done the Batman 89 film, and that was for the 35th anniversary. And I just had an absolute hankering and a jonesing to talk about the Batman and Robin screen use costumes. Now, of course, when these things are structured out, the way I structured these videos out is I like to do a few cheeky honorable mentions or things that aren't exactly on an auction page at the moment or have been on an auction page. I've just found them rogue and in the wild. Case in point is this frozen Robin statue from the beginning of the film when Mr. Freeze freezes Robin as he leaps at him and he says the line, "Stay cool, bird boy." Classic. And yeah, I love this piece, man. This is actually like such a unique and beautiful piece. Also the craftsmanship as well. That I believe these particular pieces, when they're frozen, were done by David Miller Creations. David Miller, if that name sounds familiar, from my previous video, who did the makeup on Robert Englund for the 1st, 5th, and 7th Nightmare on Elm Street. So they encased these handmade custom mannequins in some sort of epoxy resin, some clear epoxy resin, and sculpted all the icicles. And they utilized the suit as a live cast of Chris O'Donnell and made this custom mannequin, and it looks beautiful. The second and last shout out is me. So for those who may not know, who are new to this channel and don't know I have the Cosplay Chris channel, I used to own a screen used Robin suit. Now, I originally bought the suit back in the end of 2019. I had to pay that suit off before I could actually get it because it was a big chunk of change, but it was something I just could not pass up. I bought it privately from a private collector. It was just the upper and lower suit, no cape, no belt, no gloves, no boots, but it also had a production made mask. It wasn't a screen used mask, but something they made during production and that they were tinkering with. So it was a foam latex mask, which makes sense because they went on to use urethane masks for Chris O'Donnell and Alicia Silverstone, as far as I know, because they had more longevity and more life in them and they could reuse them. Now, the upper and lower bodysuits were foam latex glued onto a neoprene undersuit. Now, it took me quite a few months to pay this thing off. It got to the point where I even considered selling photos of my feet to help pay this thing off. I had to sell cosplays, I had a half-scale Batfleck statue I had to sell, but it was all worth it because I just wanted this thing. Now, I went into this knowing full well that I wasn't going to have this for the rest of my life. It was a bit of an investment, but also when it comes to the nature of foam latex, it can and will rot over time, and that can decrease the value. So I just wanted to have it for a couple of years, do my thing with it, take all the photos, videos. I even ended up putting my mate in the suit. Now, originally I was to the understanding that both pieces were worn by Chris O'Donnell. As the years progressed, I actually found out, and it was actually when I sold it to another collector, a very well-known collector in this community, that the upper part was worn by Chris O'Donnell, but the lower part was worn by his stunt double, which makes sense because the lower part, the pants, the thighs and everything were really worn, fatigued, ripped, whereas the upper part worn by O'Donnell was a lot more intact. So you can just imagine Chris O'Donnell just standing there, not doing much, whereas the stunt pants had a lot more wear and tear with them. And these suits are beautifully constructed. The sculpting, everything is just so damn amazing. The paint scheme is incredible to look at because there'd be an instance where at one point, and much like Clooney's batsuit, it'd be nice, matte black, and then other lighting conditions, it looked like a nice, sexy ice blue. So as far as I know, the costume now resides in Las Vegas next to a Kilmer Sonar suit, which is pretty cool. And again, I got my fulfillment with it. I got all the video, the photos. I got to put my mate Lukey in the suit because he had the perfect build to fit in that suit because it is a damn tight suit. I tried to put my arm in there once and the neoprene nearly ripped. I'm like, nope, we're not doing that today. I definitely do miss it, but it's also one of those things where you take a bit of a gamble owning a piece made out of foam latex, and given the fact that we have pretty harsh summers here with the conditions, and it wasn't exactly being kept in a climate controlled area because that's more investment, so I figured I'd see it off to another happy home. It's with someone who's very well known in the collecting community, so I'm happy with that. And I know that there is an upcoming prop store auction due in a couple of weeks, but the catalog comes out in a couple of days, and I'm going to be doing a separate coverage video on that because there are some damn juicy goodies in that, some damn juicy horror goodies for that matter, especially a big one for the Scream and Ghostface community. So I'm very excited about that. Like I said, we have 11 listings here. So the first one is actually from Heritage Auctions. A few weeks ago, I did my video on the Heritage Auctions listings. So this is Clooney's suit from Batman and Robin. This particular piece actually recently featured on the Netflix series King of Collectibles, where a client wanted to sell this particular Clooney suit. So if we click on this and just see some better photos of it, it is mounted on a mannequin with a live cast of George Clooney. And again, nipples and badasses aside, these costumes are beautiful. Now, obviously followed the anatomy very well. They're supposed to represent Greek armor, Greek sculpture and stuff like that. But just the ice blues that reflect off these suits, I absolutely love. The one thing that leads me to believe that it's not entirely screen used and possibly mixed media with production made or replicas are the nipples. I kid you not. The nipples are not properly defined, whereas they look more, they look more like the nipples from Batman Forever than they do in Batman and Robin. When Batman and Robin rolled around, Jose Fernandez and all the sculptors really refined the nipples. It's true, they really did. Go look at Batman Forever and then look at Batman and Robin. I'm fucking blushing. But for the most part, everything looks pretty much intact. Everything looks great. And that's why I actually want to just double check. The gloves look screen used. It's funny that the coloring does look a bit different from there now. I don't know if that's fading over time. So why don't we actually check out the description and see what it says. The cowl and cape are both marked GC for George Clooney and originally came from the Warner Brothers archives. Okay, that's cool, that's cool. The bodysuit is a stunt suit and the bat emblem and cape fasteners were created from originals to complete the display. All right, so that is a stunt suit, but the cowl and cape seem to be the hero ones that George did indeed wear. So that is pretty cool. So it doesn't say how much this particular one went for. I'm not a member on Heritage Auctions, but let's cruise on over to the next one. So now we've got the prop store auctions as well. And the very last listing, which is something very cool, is from Hero Props, I think it is. So this is a Robin suit from Batman and Robin. Again, this is very similar to the one I had. I had a Chris O'Donnell worn top and then a stunt bottoms. So if we zoom in there and you can see it's a neoprene, essentially a wetsuit, a two-piece wetsuit with the foam latex pieces glued over it. Look at that magnificent cod piece there. So the belts are urethane, much like the eye mask, because again, there's longevity there. It has a longer shelf life as opposed to foam latex. So a bit of wear and tear, especially the neck there. Like you can imagine, that thing is so tight on not only Chris O'Donnell, but the stunt performers, that the sweat eventually does break down the foam latex and cause it to rot, especially the high traffic areas here where the neck seal is glued down to the bodysuit, but also the cape has to clip in. So my particular suit had a lot of cracks around the cape clips there because it's like a high traffic area. But actually, let's just go back and check out the turnarounds of this. Yeah, that is a really well-kept suit, regardless of all the other damage surrounding it. And again, it's just the nature of foam latex. What I love about the cape is the inside has that nice metallic red in there. And it is the Nightwing suit. It's the start of the Nightwing suit, and I love how the wings match all the way down to the gloves. Those gloves are replicas, 100%. Yeah, they are not screen used. I can guarantee you that. Let's check this out. There we go. The gloves are replicas that have been added to complete the costume and have 3 backwards curving spikes. Yeah, so it's one of those things, you look at it and it doesn't match. And that just looks like a satin black as opposed to the nice ice blue there. Next up, we have a Mr. Freeze bust, apparently utilizing the prosthetics that Arnie wore on his face. So Mr. Freeze's appliances on a custom bust from Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin. This lot consists of blue and white speckle paint foam latex facial appliances adhered to a blue and white speckle painted plaster bust. So they didn't shave Arnie's hair for the film, nor his eyebrows, so it was all covered up with appliances. So I'm assuming they're reusing those particular pieces. Let's zoom on in here and have a look. So you can see it's starting to have some wear and tear there. Oh yeah. So it's quite an interesting piece. Like you can see around here whether they've recycled a piece that was used on Arnie's brows. Like right here, you can see the seam line there where it is the particular used piece. But I don't know if they reuse a ball cap unless that's it there. You see remnants of it, but they're all trying to marry it up with that particular paint scheme, because it has that kind of speckled ice look. It's like those chips that you throw down on your driveway when you're sealing it up with like an epoxy or a resin. When you're trying to give it texture, you can get those kits that look very reminiscent to that kind of look with like the chips, and you got the baby blues, you got the whites and stuff like that. So very unique and interesting piece nonetheless. So let's head on over to Alicia Silverstone's Batgirl costume. I always love this look. You know what the shit thing is? During production, the media were making fun of Alicia Silverstone for supposedly, and I quote, being too fat to be Batgirl. I don't know about you, but she looked more than fine to me. And to this day, she still looks fine. But this piece also consisted of a corset, so it was a lot more mixed media. So lots of leather, obviously foam latex. If we zoom on in here, like it seems like it would be a very tight looking costume. Not the most comfortable thing to wear, especially with this corset here. You got the foam latex chest plate there. It looks like the emblem's lifting off there. That's pretty cool that they've managed to like recreate a mannequin of her as well. It's a shame that she didn't wear this cowl more in the film. You know, she has it when they arrive at the observatory at the end, and then she just takes it off and she's got a regular eye mask on underneath, which is really weird. I don't know why they just go with her wearing the cowl. She looks great in it. Now, supposedly the capes were made out of balloon rubber. That's what I've been told. That's what they made the capes for Batman Forever as well out of. And that's why over time they harden and get stiff. Like when I saw the Sonar suit up at Warner Brothers Movie World, that thing was hard as a rock, which was sad, but also, you know, it's just the nature of latex. So apparently this piece sold for £25,000. That's a steal. Like a massive steal, man. So this says designed by Ingrid, Bob Turner, Bob Ringwood, commands sculpted by Jose Fernandez. This leather foam latex costume consists of a dark blue foam cowl, blue leather gloves, silver colored resin fins. The gloves and boots. Okay, the gloves and boots are replicas added to complete the costume. The entire costume has been mounted on a mannequin display made in Silverstone's likeness. Now these gloves, when they came up a few months ago, I registered to bid on them. I figured they're small enough, you know, you're not bidding on a full costume where you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life. And I wanted to bid on them. And they ended up selling for nearly $5,500 USD, which fair enough, but these are George Clooney's gloves from Batman and Robin. I always got fascinated with these gloves. Not just these gloves in particular, but like the Kilmer gloves, the Sonar gloves. I love the little wrist zips and everything, the color scheme, everything. And I figured, now's your chance, but ultimately I didn't end up bidding on them. And they went for a decent price. Like it's something that I wouldn't scoff at. I'd be like, okay, well, you know, I've got to live on canned tuna for a good couple of months to cover these. But yeah, screen used with the urethane fins and everything. And I don't know, there was just something just so sexy and sleek about them. I love them. Do I regret not bidding on them? A little, but you know, it's also nice to be able to buy your groceries and pay your rent. Now here's another piece I used to be obsessed with when I was a kid, and that was Mr. Freeze's freeze gun. So light up freeze gun from Batman and Robin. This sold 5,185 pounds. Like, that just seems like nothing compared to what it is. Like, I don't know. I just feel like this would sell for like 10,000 pounds. But just look at all the intricate detailing on here. It's beautiful, man. I like Mr. Freeze's armor. I used to love the freeze gun. I remember trying to build my own when I was a kid. Looked absolutely awful, nothing like this, but in my mind, I had Mr. Freeze's freeze gun. So Mr. Freeze's gun is made of rubber over a rigid structure. So is this a stunt gun? The body of the gun is covered in a chrome finish with a small length of acrylic tube acting as a barrel. Faux diamonds are attached to the power source, which hides much of the weapon's inner electronics. A small switch on the left side of the gun operates the body of the weapon. Okay, so this seems like it'd just be a stunt gun. Nonetheless, like, the chroming effect on that is amazing, especially back then. Chroming rubber is so hard. Like, even today, it's tricky to do. If you got the right paints, cost you an arm and a leg, but you can definitely do it. Now, here's something a little bit different. Not screen used, but some publicity stills, some high-res original publicity stills, which I think are really cool. Now, these sold for 1,379 USD. Not bad. And it also includes like never before seen photos, especially of Clooney, but also Arnie in the freeze suit. You got Chris O'Donnell on the Redbird, like all this amazing stuff from Batman Forever as well in his original suit. That's a shot of Clooney I've never seen before. And look at all of these that you could have. Just super high-res original stuff, which is really cool. And you get the negatives as well, so you can scan the negatives, have super high-res versions. Look at O'Donnell and all these poses there. Some of these I've never seen before. Clooney as well. Like, obviously we had the traditional side shot of Clooney right there. I don't know, man. There are just some real pearlers in this collection. Mr. Freeze with Nora. More of just Arnie. And then we've got George Clooney with Elle Macpherson. Again, like stuff I didn't realize they had photographed. That's a great shot of Clooney in the suit, man. Yeah, I don't know why. I just love stuff like this. I know a friend of mine has these super high-res images of Keaton's Batman, like rare Herb Ritz scans and stuff like that. So, you know, if stuff like this popped up for Elm Street, I'd be all over it. So this is just a random little one. This is Alicia Silverstone's Backgirl Belt. Again, these belts were made of urethane, so they lasted longer. Click to see the winning bid. I probably should help. Lock closed, unsold. Okay, so again, you don't know how to take these things, whether did indeed sell or they've been sold after the fact. But regardless, still cool nonetheless. And I love just seeing how they made these things work. I love seeing the backing of these things, like, you know, the ugly side of a prop. Not necessarily the ugly side, but the side you don't see when there's like Sharpie markers, Velcro, glue residue, contact adhesive residue, all that type of stuff. So that was obviously used at the end. Utility belt from Joel Schumacher's superhero sequel, when she wore her Arctic costume. And yeah, like they wouldn't have made many if she's just wearing one in the film. And our last listing comes from Julian's Auctions. So Julian's Auctions is actually where I had my Robin costume up for auction when I wanted to sell it. It ultimately didn't sell, but a private collector came along and bought it after the fact. So I went through Julian's, and this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze armored suit with a freeze gun. Now this sold supposedly for 63,500 USD, which is a big chunk of change, but I've got to say the Mr. Freeze costumes are some of the most beautiful pieces of costuming technology and engineering because they were handcrafted by Terry English out of aircraft aluminium or aluminum, however you want to say it, and just the intricate detailing work that goes into these suits, and given the fact that they're practical, they light up, everything. And we've got a foam latex undersuit that Arnold would wear before putting the armor on. But just look at all that detail, all the riveting, just the time, the effort, all the man-hours that went into making these things. I don't know off the top of my head how many they actually made for the film. I know at one point, and you see in the Batsuit documentary video I made, that there was one up at Warner Brothers Movie World. I do believe they made like cheaper replicas once Batman and Robin came out for theme parks, i.e. Warner Brothers Movie World, Six Flags, like all over the world. But just the engineering and just the design process for this armor, I think it's a severely underrated costume. and not enough people talk about it. I think obviously because the meme that is Batman and Robin kind of overshadows what could have been. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, could have been a really damn good Mr. Freeze given some proper writing, directing, and him actually giving it all and going gung-ho with it and doing a proper portrayal of Mr. Freeze. Regardless of his ice puns, I think in an alternate universe where this film was taken much more seriously, it could have been something absolutely incredible. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but obviously want to talk about that whilst we look at these beautiful photos of this beautiful suit, man. And it's even got a life cast of Arnie with the helmet. That's what I love, that light up helmet. And when they put like the blue dye in his mouth, so he just looks like a big frozen badass popsicle. I would, however, change the life cast to blue. It just looks weird with like a natural skin color. And there you have it, guys. Those are some screen use costumes and props from Batman and Robin. Again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you just for the really awesome response to this series. I love doing it. It's obviously very sporadic. It'd be one of those things where I want to try and do like a horror one, then a superhero one, maybe another random rogue one, and then back to horror. Like I said at the beginning of this video, the catalog for the latest prop store auction that's coming up in August is due out in 2 days' time. I'm going to be doing some coverage on that, particularly a Ghostface related listing and a Nightmare on Elm Street glove related listing. Very excited about that. And there's also some Child's Play stuff. So it's very horror orientated, which I'm really excited about. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.